Last week, we talked about getting over white canvas syndrome, blank canvas syndrome. And one of the steps was to embrace the imperfections or to embrace the process. And I kind of want to expand on that a little bit this week and discuss some ways that you can defeat the perfectionism in your art. First, almost all art starts off ugly. It never starts off, no piece of work ever starts off as a finished piece. It all starts off ugly. Even Bob Ross would do stuff like make mistakes, and he would say, you ever make mistakes? Let's turn that mistake into a bird. So first off, you have to just understand, no work of art starts off as a finished work of art. And you just have to embrace that messy blob and figure out how you're going to work it into your art. You'll hear me say this all the time about focusing on your processes. You know, if you really get down into your art and just really focus on what you're doing and not on trying to finish a piece, but I'm really pushing paint, I'm really drawing, I'm really trying to capture this object, I'm really trying to stare at this naked person in front of me. You know, if you really just focus on the process, you'll notice that time flies and you don't really notice all of the imperfections and mistakes that you're making along the way while you're learning. And then there's the idea of perfectionism in itself. What are you comparing it against? What are you trying to be perfect against? Do you think Michelangelo ever stopped and looked at Da Vinci and said, hey, my work's just not nearly as good as his? I mean, I don't even know if they were contemporaries or if they even knew of each other's existence, but do you think they ever stopped and looked at each other's work and said, oh, I'm just not going to do anything today because mine's not as good as his? You can't go around comparing your work to other people's works. You got to focus on what you're doing and have fun doing it. On that note, if you're having fun doing it, and if you're focused on the learning and you're focused on the practice, do some crazy stuff. Break out a piece of potato and paint with it. Take that toothbrush and cut it in half and see what you can do with it. Maybe try to figure out how to make stars with throwing salt and paint-soaked salt at a canvas and see what it does. You never know what you're going to discover. You may discover the next technique that's going to make your art just stand out past everybody else's. But have fun and enjoy it, and you'll find yourself not worrying so much about making mistakes. Now, knowing when to finish is usually a really tough one for me. Knowing when to stop is usually a really tough one for me, because it's like I can sit there and just keep getting smaller and smaller brushes and getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the details. And what you have to do is you just have to know when to stop. You just have to figure out, you know, this is where I'm stopping. And sometimes that's just setting a timer. Sometimes that's just saying, I've got 20 minutes to do this. That's all the time I have for it. At the end of this 20 minutes, I'm stopping. And if that's where you end up, that's where you end up, and just let it go. Just hang it on the wall, sign it, hang it on the wall, and start the next one. And look, I get it. I absolutely get it. You want that hand to look like a hand. You want that shoe to look like a shoe, and not a muffin. You want that palm tree to not look like a pine tree. You want your art to express the idea you have in your head. But when you go to critique it as though you were critiquing a friend's work. You wouldn't tell a friend, hey, you should never make art again because your palm tree looks like a stick with waving flags on the top of it. You'd tell your friend, hey, let's focus a little more on these form shadows and make it look a little more real, but you've got a good overall start. So kindness matters even when you're talking to yourself. I am in no way saying don't strive to improve your work. I am absolutely not saying you shouldn't always work to make your art better or to improve upon yourself. I'm simply saying that you shouldn't be worried about striving for perfection. You should be worrying about being better than you were yesterday. The only person you have to compete with is you. And I heard a phrase once that I really like, and I've said it many, many, many times. Perfect people get nailed to trees. All of the perfect people that ever existed got nailed to a tree. And so you don't have to worry about it. You're just free to make art. Have a good day.